Tattoo artists of Reddit, who is your worst tattoo virgin? Edit, thanks for the love, by far my most popular post. Ranker even picked this thread up for an article. I'll take this one. I had a client who got a Jesus fish with Greek letters on his chest. I put the stencil on, he looks down, says looks good, and we do the tattoo. Guy sits like a champ through his entire first tattoo. I finish up after about 45 minutes, he checks it out in the mirror and immediately goes pale, starts to sweat and sits down. Dude looks at me and says it's backwards. All shook. I look at his tattoo, look at him on the floor, look at the mirror and tell the guy I'm gonna take a photo of it for you to see, because you don't know how mirrors work. A couple minutes go by as I'm handing the dude paper towels, the guy stands up all quick and tries to play it off like he was just messing with me, even though for a minute there was a corpse on my studio floor. One shop I worked at, we had a couple come in on the day we did $100 2-inch by 2-inch tattoos. They both were getting these small triceratops outline tattoos behind their ears, nothing too crazy or detailed, so maybe about 15 minutes each in the chair at most. The guy is losing his mind, he's hyperventilating, laughing, jumping up and down and yelling questions at all of us, visually very nervous. He tells one of our apprentices that this is his first tattoo and keeps asking them how bad it hurts over and over again. The owner went into the back and grabbed an ammonia packet, worried the guy would pass out the second needle touched skin. Turns out it was this couple's first date. He had told her he was impulsive and she tried to call his bluff and suggested they get matching tattoos. To his credit, he got the tattoo and didn't pass out, paid for them both too. They later got married due to a series of escalating dares. I've made a huge mistake. It's not the worst, but I love this one. At the expense of my very good client, I generally use this story to help noobs ease into my chair more comfortably. So it was his first and I'm getting my stencil prepped. He was so nervous, he was basically white. Kept asking if he was good. Yeah, he was okay, I guess. Place the stencil on him and ask him to take a look. He looks at his arm and immediately passes out in the chair, lol. He's sliding out of the chair, we get him back up and he comes to. He got over it, eventually, and has his sleeve. Not the worst client. But just an unfortunate event. The apprentice at my shop who had only been tattooing for a little under a year was tattooing this girl's wrist recently, her first tattoo, the word undefeated. Gets the tattoo, it goes smoothly, she likes it, walks to the lobby, shows her dad, he likes it. Walks back to get bandaged up, gets bandaged, they walk back to the counter as Hess explaining aftercare, she blacks out. Falls back, hits her head on a giant painting hanging on the wall, an Ed Hardy original, the painting falls, glass breaks. He runs over, picks her up and is checking the back of her head. Realizes a giant piece of glass had punctured her shoulder trap. EMT comes, tell her she needs stitches, they end up having to take her to the emergency room where she got 6 stitches. The next week the girl brought him a giant tub of cookies. She wasn't the worst, but it was an incredibly unfortunate experience for the both of them. His first time having someone pass out and her being defeated. She can claim the tattoo is undefeated. It took her out. Imagine if Mike Tyson knocked himself out with the belt as soon as it's handed to him. There's a few different ways you can go with worst. Is worst most reactive? Is worst most picky and unreasonable? I've been pretty lucky in the grand scheme of things. My worst most reactive annoying client was this dude who was very clearly a drug addict. He came in, wanted a simple tribal tattoo on his stomach. I saw sure no problem, but he starts haggling me about the price. At first it was $400, then he said no more than $200. We finally settled on $300 after about 20 minutes of back and forth. I get all set up, we start the tattoo. Within a minute he says he needs to stand up, that's he's in too much pain and needs to walk around. He walks around for about 2 or 3 minutes, then lays back down, gets tattooed for another couple minutes and then same thing. He does this constantly throughout the entire tattoo. During this time he was constantly scratching his head, twitching all over and complaining loudly. But the worst part wasn't the fact that this 2-hour tattoo turned into almost 4 hours. The worst was that he kept going out for smoke breaks, but kept only taking 2 or 3 puffs, putting the cherry out and then putting the smoke back in his pocket. So all I could smell the entire time was musty cigs. It was ducking disgusting. The cigarettes smelled old. If you've ever smelled old cigs you know what I'm talking about. He also kept putting it in the pocket that was right beside my face. No chance I'm haggling with somebody who's about to permanently mark my body. I feel like being a total idiot is more likely to not get you a good deal anyways. When I got my first tattoo, dude charged me $200 for the first session. I was gonna do it in 2 parts, but it ended up not really hurting me and the guy was super cool about it. He was like, if you can keep going I'll keep tattooing you, cuss this piece is sick. Dude just kept tattooing me into the night and finished the whole piece that day. Still only paid $200, 1010. Not an artist, but I'm a receptionist at a pretty popular tattoo shop in my town. I've seen quite a few people who had no business getting tattooed, but by far my favorite was this one guy who wanted to get some script tattooed behind his ear. He had come in before to get priced out, but absolutely refused to make an appointment and drop a deposit. He came back a few days later as a walk-in, so we squeezed him in that day. He was a mess getting done, lol, shaking, sweating and basically crying in the chair. The tattoo itself took maybe 15 minutes. Well, the reason why this dude refused to put a deposit down was because he planned on getting tatted and leaving without paying. As soon as the artist put Sanoderm on his tattoo, he jumped up out of the chair and bolted for the front door. Then promptly passed out as he ran through the lobby. LMFAO. He ended up breaking his nose as he hit the ground, and we called the cops. The best part was watching this dude cry like a baby because he was just a few days from getting out of the military and local PD notified his command. Best shift ever. Close second was the newly turned 18-year girl who legitimately wanted a Dick Tramp stamp tattooed on her. Yes, she was sober. No, we didn't tattoo her. Both idiots, but at least she had a chance of growing out of hers. Not an artist, but just got my first tattoo and asked her this question. She had a woman come in with her boyfriend to get her tattoo. The lady screamed after the needle first came down and told her boyfriend that she was going to have to bite him to cope with the pain. Chomped on his arm the whole time while moan screaming. My artist told me she thinks it was some weird kink thing that she did not consent to participate in. That happens more often than artists like to admit. That's how another artist friend of mine basically became the furry tattoo artist in our city. Something that's made her a lot of money but also caused her to vet her clients way more closely than she used to. Vet her clients, the furries. Ha ha ha. Edit, now that I'm on my laptop I can see awards, thanks so much, y'all. Hope your breakfasts are full of biscuits and gravy. Had a customer that wanted a little watermelon slice on his thigh. Cool, 5 to 10 minutes, nice and easy for a first tattoo. Nope. On the third line I hear a weird little low-pitched moan, looked up and his head flipped back and the rest of him followed. When he woke up on the floor to 3 guys trying to pull him back up, he said something along the lines of WTF, why are you touching me? That's gay. Been like 3 to 4 years since then and he still hasn't come back to get it finished. Lamau. WTF, why are you touching me? That's gay. If guys helping another guy up is gay, I can only guess this guy has some slight insecurities. We all know that watermelon slice was for the boys. Have to. I did piercings, but my friend was an artist at the shop we worked at. Had a girl come in, no ink, no piercings. She wanted to get, no joke, daddy's girl as a tramp stamp. She was in tears moments into the tattoo, like hysterical shit. She suffered through altogether probably 25 minutes, and walked out with girl right above her waistline. 1010 hilarious. The other was a guy. He had a few small tats on his arms, nothing crazy. He was also one of the I watch you can wear tap out, don't duck with me types. He wanted a pretty large tribal chest piece. Collarbone to collarbone. He was told that we recommended a couple of sessions, them shits is going to hurt, and this is a lot of outline and a lot of shading. He insisted no, he could sit. He ended up fainting toward the end of his outline. I worked there for roughly a year after and he never came back to get it finished. He tapped out. A friend who had never had a tattoo before wanted one on her ankle and was adamant about that. I told her several times that the ankle is a very not fun location, and asked her if maybe she'd prefer the shoulder instead. She insisted on the ankle. Okay then. The moment the needle touched her she hollered. You sure you want to keep going? I asked. She said yes. That was the loudest appointment I ever had, but to her credit she made it through. Ooh, good to know about ankles. I have one tattoo on the underside of my wrist and have been thinking about an ankle tattoo, but more like the skin between your ankle and your heel, if that makes sense. Is that a more comfortable spot than the ankle since it's not right on bone? Purely anecdotal, but I have 2 ankle tattoos, one big one on my inner ankle, and one little one in the spot you described. My big ankle tattoo was a breeze. Hurt like hell, but it was manageable with some breathing and hand holding. Got the little one last week. Never again. Left a big ass puddle of sweat on the chair and had to sit on the sidewalk outside the shop when it was done because I was pretty sure I was gonna pass out. All for like 10 minutes at most in the chair. My first was on my outer ankle. 51F, the guys in the shop were looking at me funny. Almost apprehensive? My artist warned me that was a tender spot. I told him that I could handle pain. Again, weird looks all around. We got started, and it wasn't nearly as bad as I had been warned. Then he hit the spot. My leg jerked. I was horrified and apologetic. Seems that when he hit a nerve pathway, my leg did an involuntary twitch. He did the tattoo while basically holding my leg down, and we both just cracked up laughing every time he hit my twitchy nerve. Really nice guy, and good artist.